Okay, this should be live. Just going to verify it, then I'll share the stream. Alright, looks like it is live. If you guys can hear me, please let me know in the chat, just so I can verify that this is working as it should. Should be working just fine. Alright, I'm going to share this, and then we will get started. We are discussing Kalmeagi, I think Kalmeagi. I'm going to just double check the pronunciation of it real quick. I believe it is
Kalmaegi.
Kalmaegi. Kalmaegi, that's the pronunciation of the storm. There we go. And yes, not again, we have another threat now. Good morning to those in the Philippines, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, all those regions, even in Hainan Island. The system could pose a threat all the way over there. So let's get started in discussing the system's threats. Yes, again, it could reach Category 4 intensity, and we'll go all over it. Hi, Typhoon Lover. Happy birthday today. Hope you have a wonderful day today. Again, you're going to be watching a typhoon on your birthday and after your birthday, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what you like to see. Anyways, let's get right into it. So here's a look at the intensity forecast and track forecast over the next 5 days on Kalmaegi, I think is how you pronounce it. Also known as Tino now in the Philippines. It has crossed into the Philippine Area of Responsibility now, which does mean that it has been named Tino by Pagasa. So it is currently a tropical storm, and it is expected to reach Category 1 typhoon intensity by tomorrow, or by tonight for y'all in the Philippines. By tomorrow morning, it is expected to reach Category 2 strength, and then by tomorrow, this would be tomorrow night, it is expected to reach Category 4 intensity before slamming into the Philippines, likely as a Category 3 or 4 strength system, maybe even Category 5. I would not rule out a Category 5 strength landfall in the Philippines. This does look to be around the Leyte region of the Philippines, so eastern Visayas region. Then it will be moving through central Visayas as a Category 2 before moving through western Visayas as a Category 2 or 1 strength system. It does emerge through Palawan and into the South China Sea as a Category 1 strength system within the next 3 days before intensifying to a Category 2 by day 4, potentially making landfall as a Category 3 strength typhoon along the coast of Vietnam before weakening down to a tropical storm by day 5, somewhere in between Laos and Vietnam. That is a look at the intensity forecast for the system and track forecast. Now, impacts will be happening over a large area. Nearly the entire Philippines is expected to see marginal impacts from the system, mainly in the form of rain, but some of these areas could also see impacts in the form of wind. Also, the southern coast of Hainan Island is highlighted in that marginal impact category, as well as portions of Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, as well as Thailand, and again, majority of Vietnam in that marginal impact category. Also, I believe that is going to be Palau highlighted as well in that marginal category of impacts. Now, stepping it up to the slight impacts, what areas could see slight impacts? That is going to be including northern Caraga here, and portions of, let's see, the Negros Island region, western Visayas, as well as Palawan there, and portions of Vietnam, northeastern Cambodia, and southeastern Laos, and again, majority of southern and eastern Vietnam in that slight category. There is also a portion in eastern Cagayan Valley, which is in that slight category, mainly for rainfall, as they could be seeing heavy rainfall as the system is making landfall there. Some onshore flow, a lot of moisture impacting those regions there, monsoon. Now, stepping it up to the moderate category, there is a moderate corridor of impacts that does go through the Visayas region of the Philippines, mainly the southern portions of Samar, as well as the entirety of Leyte, looks like, far northern Caraga, central Visayas, looks like, let's see, the northern portions of the Negros Island region, the entirety of western Visayas, and northern Palawan is in that a moderate category. And again, a portion of the coast of Vietnam there, in eastern Vietnam, really in that moderate category. I would add the possibility of major impacts there, but it's a little bit far out to determine what it's going to be looking like after it exits the Philippines. This is a very uncertain forecast as to how much the system will try to rapidly intensify before making landfall in the Philippines. Now, there is a corridor of major impacts which is being forecasted now. This does include the southern portions of eastern Visayas, so it's mainly eastern Samar. It does include a majority of Leyte there, so Leyte and southern Leyte, all in that major category. And it does also include Dinagat Island, I believe is how you say that, all in that major category of impacts, as this could be rolling through as a major Category 3 or higher typhoon. So again, you want to be preparing for major impacts, as this could be rolling through your region as a major typhoon over the next 36 hours or so. Alright, I don't even believe you guys are under a signal warning just yet, which I do believe will rapidly change. Signal 3 to 4 warnings, maybe even Signal 5 warnings could be issued in these regions depending on how much the system tries to rapidly intensify. Now let's go over the broad view of tropics right now, since there's less going on, thankfully, since we last checked up on it. Melissa is a post-tropical cyclone, nearly hurricane force, with winds of 70 miles an hour that is going to be meandering to the east just south of Iceland before dissipating somewhere near Europe. In the western Pacific, we of course have Kalmeagi, which is expected to make landfall in the Philippines and then off towards Vietnam. We just discussed where that's going. But we also have an invest behind that, Invest 99W, with an 80% chance of tropical cyclone formation over the next 7 days. That could also become a significant typhoon and threaten portions of the Philippines, Taiwan, China, the Ryukyu Islands of Japan, and mainland Japan as well. In the North Indian Ocean, we have a disturbance here with a 30% chance of development, but it is starting to run out of time as it meanders towards Myanmar. And the remnants of 92A are still going on with a 10% chance of redevelopment, should be dissipating over the next day. 95S still is lingering and meandering towards the west, and it should dissipate over the next few days. We are currently code purple, the highest code level right now for Tropical Storm Kalmaegi, also known as Tino in the Philippines, and we are code yellow for 99W, which could pose, again, a significant threat to the Philippines, the Northern Mariana Islands, and really the entire Western Pacific should be watching that system. Alright, now I do want to point this out. Out of the Google AI Ensemble members, here's a look at the percentages of what it could peak at. 6% of them have it peaking out as a Category 3, 32% have it peaking out as a Category 4, and an overwhelming majority, 62%, have it peaking out as a Category 5. So really, a Category 5 is becoming an increasingly likely scenario. So super typhoon status is starting to look more likely than not, at least from the Google AI Ensemble members. So really need to be watching this very closely. The consensus now is starting to look like a Category 5 peak. It's very uncertain as to when that will happen. I have not highlighted an area for the possibility of extreme/catastrophic impacts just yet, because I am quite uncertain as to how much the system will intensify. Now let's look at the satellite imagery on the system. Starting out with the visible imagery, we can see it is located now north of Palawan, I believe is how you pronounce that island there. And it is starting to get some easterly wind shear here. You can see the system is more lopsided on the western side, and it does have a solid banding feature on the northwestern side. And it is bursting continuous convection over the center. Not bad right now. Looking at the infrared imagery, we can see that strong convective burst that has been sustaining over the last few hours over the system, trying to potentially develop a core. Looking on the northwestern side, we can see a lot of banding with this system. So we could see more IOL replacement cycle or IOL replacement cycles. Try to undergo that. But we are going to need to be watching the structure and how it evolves over the next 24 to 48 hours as it nears the Philippines. Do you want to discuss the sea surface temperatures? They are piping hot here, 30 to 31 degrees Celsius, all the way up towards the Philippines. So again, very conducive for tropical cyclone developments out of this and rapid intensification. Looking at the other environmental factors, shear is expected to be in this low category over the next 48 hours up until it hits the Philippines and enters the South China Sea. That's when it's more in the moderate to high category. In terms of sea surface temperatures, again, piping hot, 30 degrees Celsius, very sufficient for rapid intensification, and it does begin to cool down as it enters the South China Sea, but still sufficient for intensification. Relative humidity, high all the way throughout the forecast period, so that's not going to be a problem. Again, rapid intensification does seem likely over the next 48 hours or 36 hours as it impacts, as it nears the Philippines. I do want to discuss the distances from certain areas. From the Philippines, the center of the storm looks to be around around 1,000 kilometers, nearly on the dot. I'd say 1,000 kilometers away from eastern Samar, so southeastern Samar, eastern Visayas region, around 1050 kilometers away from there. Leyte looks to be around 1,100 kilometers away. In terms of Tacloban, looks to be around 1,100 kilometers away from there. Cebu City looks to be around 1,200 kilometers away. And looks like Bohol looks to be around 1,100 kilometers away. Caraga looks like it's around 1,000 kilometers away. And looking at western Visayas, it's around 1,300 kilometers away from you there. Northern Palawan looks like 1,600 kilometers away. Manila's around 1,600 kilometers away. Mindoro is also around 1,500 kilometers away, and eastern Vietnam looks to be around 2,800 kilometers away, with Laos being 3,000 kilometers away. That is a look at the current distances as to how far away this storm is from certain regions in the Philippines. Looking at the latest model runs, let's start off with looking at the European run as to what it wants. It does want the system to rapidly intensify into a major typhoon before plowing into eastern Visayas region and central Visayas before eventually reaching western Visayas and Palawan. There still is a major typhoon, continues to intensify even further. This model run has it peaking as it slams into Vietnam as a major typhoon. And that next disturbance after the system does roll through the Philippines, northern Philippines, looks like northern Luzon, the Cagayan Valley as a major typhoon before entering the South China Sea. It's a little bit far out. This is 10 days out on this model run as to what it wants the system to do. Looking at the latest American run on the system, it does have it quickly intensifying to a Category 2 typhoon before plowing through the Philippines and intensifying to a Category 3 strength system by the time it plows into Vietnam. And we can look at the next system, Invest 99W, rapidly and explosively intensifies to the west of the Mariana Islands, becoming a Category 5 strength system and slams into Luzon as a Category 5 super typhoon before entering the South China Sea, still as a major typhoon. Looks like it struggles still at the 10-day time frame. So again, 99W could pose a significant threat to the Philippines over the next 10 days, but currently we're focused on Kalmeagi, also known as Tino. Looking at the latest Canadian run, it does have the system intensifying. Kalmeagi becomes a typhoon before moving through the Philippines, becomes a potential major typhoon by the time it makes landfall in Vietnam. And that next disturbance, 99W, becomes a major typhoon by the time it slams into the Philippines. This model run has it slamming into Manila as a major typhoon over the next 8 to 9 days, looks like. And then by day 10, it's in the South China Sea. Looking at the latest German run on what it wants the system there, Kalmeagi, to roll through the Philippines, mainly central Philippines around the Visayas region, enters the South China Sea and slams into Vietnam there. The next disturbance does not impact land over the next 7 days, at least on this model run. I don't think the European ensemble members are really working, so we're going to look at the American ensembles on what they want the system to do. And at 99W. So looking at the ensemble members, it does roll through the Visayas region of the Philippines. It doesn't look like it really impacts Luzon that much, and then rolls through into Vietnam there as a typhoon. Now we can see the signal after it. 99W does roll through the northern Mariana Islands, including Guam there, before becoming a possible major typhoon. Some of those ensemble members do strike northern Luzon and parts of Manila there as a powerful typhoon, but the consensus generally stays north. Again, it's pretty far out to determine where it's expected to go. Here's a look at the 10-day ensemble members as to where they're expecting the systems to go. So here's Kalmeagi and where it's expected to track, and here's 99W on the potential as to where it could move. Again, Philippines should need to be watching the system, but first they need to be focusing on Kalmeagi, also known as Tino. Looking at the latest European AI model on what it wants, it does want the system to make landfall just south of eastern Visayas, or just south of Samar, making landfall looks like at around Leyte before moving through central Visayas, the Negros Islands of the Philippines there in western Visayas, before reaching Palawan. Does intensify again before making landfall in Vietnam, and we can see that next disturbance after it, making landfall just in the Cagayan Valley and in the Babuan Islands before reaching Taiwan there by the 10-day time frame. So I would like to discuss the hurricane models and what they want. This is the HWRF model run. This would be Sunday night, nearing typhoon status, and by the time we get to Monday morning in the Philippines here, this is already already developing a core there, solid core, does make landfall as a Category 2 or 3 strength system. This would be around eastern Visayas, and this would be around Monday night, overnight into Tuesday morning, rolling through the Philippines, rolling through the northern portions of central Visayas. Negros region also getting hammered in that southern eye wall before it reaches western Visayas. There still is a possible Category 2 strength system. And then by the time we get towards this would be almost Wednesday morning, overnight Tuesday into Wednesday morning for you all in the Philippines. It is rolling through northern Palawan there as a potential major typhoon. It does rapidly intensify even further there as a Category 3 or 4 strength system by the time it slams into Vietnam. By the 5-day time frame. That's a look at the HWRF model run, and let's look at the HAFS A model run and at what it wants the system to do. Let's see, oh boy, okay, so it does make landfall as a Category 2 strength system. It is probably underestimating the storm's environment. It does have the system making landfall. This would be around, let's see, Monday night into Tuesday morning in portions of eastern Samar. It does roll through Samar and then make landfall, looks like in portions of northern Leyte there before moving just south of Masbates and then moving through western Visayas. There still is a typhoon rolling through and clipping northern Palawan. There still is a typhoon. It does quickly intensify there to a powerful Category 4 strength system in the South China Sea. 939 millibars being forecasted by this model run, and it does slam into eastern Vietnam. There still is a powerful typhoon there. Looks like it's around Category 3 or 4 strength by the time it makes landfall. 949 millibars, then rolls through the Indochina regions of southeastern Asia, looks like, and slamming into Cambodia and eventually Laos and Thailand. Heavy rainfall rates. You can see this rain shield very expansive. That's something we will be concerned about over the next week. Let's look at the rainfall totals on the various model runs. Here's a look at the European run and what it's forecasting rainfall totals to be. Looking at portions of Dinagat Island, there looks like rainfall totals of up to 300 millimeters being forecasted for you there. Southern Leyte could see rainfall totals up to 400 millimeters. Cebu City could see rainfall totals as well up to 400 millimeters. Looking at the Negros Island region, central portions there could see up to 450 millimeters of rain. And looking at portions of western Visayas, around 100 to 200 millimeters of rain being forecasted for you there. Palawan could see up to 300 millimeters of rain. And looking at portions of Vietnam, you could see up to 400 millimeters of rain depending on where you're located. Some isolated spots there up to 400 millimeters. Let's look at the wind accumulations and what they're forecasting the winds to be like across the Philippines. So wherever it moves through, winds of up to, let's see, go to kilometers an hour. Up to 250 kilometer an hour wind gusts are possible there, and the European run has it rolling through the eastern Visayas region with winds of up to 250 kilometers an hour in a corridor of up to 200 kilometers an hour through portions of Leyte, central Visayas, the Negros Island, and western Visayas there. And then also a corridor of even higher winds up to 250 kilometer an hour winds for portions of Palawan. Going towards the Vietnam, it could peak out there. Wind gusts of over 250 kilometers an hour being forecasted. Along the coast, around 200 kilometer an hour winds for portions of Vietnam, wherever it makes that landfall. Now, going over to the rainfall forecast from the American run and what it's forecasting. Again, a corridor of, looks to be up to 200 to 300 millimeters, even 400 millimeters of rain where it moves through. Portions of Vietnam there could see rainfall totals of up to 400 to 500 millimeters of rain, and that does include portions of southeastern Laos. Looking at the winds they're forecasting from the system, let's pull that up. Not as high winds at all really in this model run, but they are forecasting much higher winds on that next system that rolls through there. If we extend this forecast out a little bit, it's up to 200 kilometer an hour winds impacting portions of Luzon. Looking at the rainfall forecast for the German run on it, it should show generally lower totals, but still a corridor of up to 300 to 400 millimeters of rain depending on where it tracks. And then portions of Vietnam getting over 400 millimeters of rain in some spots. Looking at the rainfall forecast on the system, or the wind forecast of this system here over the next 7 days, seems to be mostly gusty, but not as bad as the other models. I would believe the other models though with this system, as it could become a Category 4 as it slams into portions of the Visayas region in the Philippines. Let's see now, moving on here, if we look at the See, Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast on it, they did have it around 45 knots at this time. I believe that's what they went with at 0Z. They do have it strengthening to a typhoon, and then potentially major typhoon. Winds of around 90 knots are forecasted by the time it makes landfall. Looks like in southeastern Samar is what's being forecasted by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. I believe it could be a little bit more south of that. I believe it could be making landfall in Leyte. It does weaken down to a Category 1 before re-intensifying to a Category 3 in the South China Sea. Looks like it could be making landfall in portions of Vietnam as a Category 3 strength system. I would like to discuss the Google AI Ensemble members on this system and what they're showing. So the latest Google AI Ensemble members are showing a majority of these members here at one point in time, up to around, let's see, that's around 18, so that'd be around 36% of them. A third of them have it as a Category 5 at this point alone. This would be Monday nights. So again, around a third of them have it as a Category 5 at that point in time. But as we've seen here, 62%, around two-thirds of them have been peaking at a Category 5 at any time, having that as the peak there. See, then they roll through the Philippines there, mainly around Leyte there, before moving through central Visayas, the Negros Islands of the Philippines there, and western Visayas, before moving through Palawan there as a Category 1. It does re-intensify there to a Category 2 or 3 before slamming into Vietnam, then rolling through Laos and Thailand, before eventually dissipating again over Laos. There is the possibility it becomes a Category 5 again in the South China Sea. I'm not going to rule that out, but it seems much less likely than before it reaches the Philippines. Now let's discuss the system after that, since again there's another system that could be forming, 99W. We can take a look at where that system is forecasted to go. The general consensus is expecting it to, let me just double check the members here. Yeah, the general consensus is for it to become a major typhoon before slamming into Luzon. That is a look at the latest Google AI Ensemble member consensus. So a lot of these members do have it becoming a Category 5, over a 20% chance that it does that. The general consensus, though, again, does have it impacting the northern Philippines, so you all will need to be paying attention to this system there. The southern Philippines really need to be focusing on Kalmeagi or Tino, whereas northern Philippines really need to be focusing on this system over the coming week. But again, you could be getting impacts from Kalmeagi or Tino in portions of eastern Cagayan region of the Philippines, mainly in the form of rainfall. And let's see if there's anything else to discuss. Not really. Okay, now let's answer some questions for you all. Let's go through this. No Hong Kong threat. This is not a Hong Kong threat, thankfully. Nothing impacting you there. Yes, it could become a Category 4. In terms of the Google AI Ensemble members, theirs looks to be around a 94% chance that this reaches Category 4 intensity or higher. So really, this is looking more likely than not that this will become a Category 4. I do want to emphasize, though, that the Google AI Ensemble members have the system a little bit stronger than what it is currently, so we may see this get adjusted. Hopefully, let's hope this goes down. Yes, it looks like it's going to be impacting the places where Haiyan made landfall, just a little bit weaker, fortunately. Oh, I do want to mention, guys, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. We're trying to hit 5,000 by the end of the year, and we are getting closer and closer, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I will continue to do updates on the Philippines as to where the system will be going, the latest trends, all that kind of stuff. Could 99W become a super typhoon? It is definitely possible. A lot of these ensemble members, again, over a fifth of them have it becoming a Category 5, so over a 20% chance that this does become a super typhoon. So we will need to be watching this next system very closely. How much rainfall in Tacloban? Let's look at Tacloban's impacts. So we would like to more so look at the European run and what they want. See, so conditions look to be the worst at around, oh god, okay, let me just make sure, yeah, okay. This is correct, yeah, so Tacloban could see the worst impacts on around Tuesday morning. I'd be finishing your preparations by Monday, especially before Monday nights, as that's when conditions are really going to be deteriorating. Looks like Tuesday morning is going to be, overnights Monday into Tuesday morning are going to be the worst days of impacts before it finally calms down on Tuesday nights. Let's look at the latest European forecast there. In terms of rainfall, though, let's pull up rainfall accumulations. Only around 70 millimeters from the European run. American run shows up to 200 millimeters, and the German run's around 80 millimeters. So I'd say anywhere from 70 to 200 millimeters of rain are being forecasted for you in Tacloban. Is Super Typhoon possible before it makes landfall in the Philippines? Yes. A majority of these ensemble members, I think every single one that shows it peaking as a Category 5 does have it peaking as a Category 5 before making landfall in the Philippines. So yes, around a 2/3 chance that this does make a run for Category 5 intensity, so Super Typhoon intensity. I was quite surprised by this uptrend. I feel like the chances are a little bit lower than that. I don't think the environment is as pristine as the Google AI members are thinking. But again, this does have a serious potential to be a Category 5 at landfall there. Or Panay Islands? Okay, I don't know what that all is. Okay. Yeah, so Super Typhoon, again, Signal 5 warnings are possible wherever it makes landfall, as we're not quite sure as to what the extent of its intensification will be. No, I did not have 92A becoming a tropical cyclone. Again, it hasn't been a tropical cyclone for several days. It did peak out as one, though. I do want to say that. Yes, I had a Halloween party 2 days ago. Thank you. Thank you for asking. How much rainfall in Cebu City? Let's look at the impacts in Cebu City because they could get a direct blow from this. In terms of impacts, I would be saying, let me just double check here. Looks like they are forecasted to see moderate impacts. Would maybe highlight them for the possibility of major impacts. Oh dang, did this get shifted south on a new model run? Looks like it. Okay, so Cebu City impacts will be beginning Monday nights, so I'd get your preparations completed before Monday nights, and Tuesday morning will be the peak of impacts for you. European runs forecasting wind gusts of up to 200 kilometers an hour happening for your location, and then it finally calms down by Wednesday morning, maybe gusty on Wednesday. In terms of rainfall, the European runs forecasting up to 400 millimeters of rain, Americans up to 300 millimeters, and the Germans up to around 150. So I'd say anywhere from 150 to 400 millimeters of rain are possible in Cebu City. Let's see, Typhoon Lover says they're barely in the cone and it's on your birthday. There's a disturbance in the Eastern Pacific. Let me check. I thought that they removed that. Maybe they added it back. Oh, I swear they hold on. I'm going to look at the archive on this because I swear they removed it briefly. Yeah, they briefly removed its chances. Then they added it back. Okay, so yeah, I'm not quite sure about that system developing in the Eastern Pacific. I've seen it for a bit. We'll see if that tries to become anything. Maybe becomes a brief tropical cyclone. I haven't really paid too much attention. Looks pretty decent. We'll need a scatterometer pass to see how it's doing. Deep Mine showing a Category 4 at landfall. Yes, again, Category 4 or 5 at landfall is looking more and more likely with this system, unfortunately. Let's hope it doesn't. Let's hope it fails its rapid intensification phase before making landfall. Do you think 99W will be another Man-Yi like last year? It's too far out to be talking about that. I'd say there's around an 80% chance that that does become a tropical cyclone, though. Uwan is the next Philippine name after Tino. Okay, thank you for that. We could be getting to the auxiliary list. That is a good point. I'm not sure, though. Let's see, more questions here. I'm sorry, guys. I am getting through all your comments here. Typhoon Tino is coming tomorrow. Be ready in Visayas and possible parts of the Bicol region and Mindanao. Yes, again, if you are in the Philippines, you need to be preparing for this. and get your preparations completed by tomorrow night, because by then the system is already going to be impacting you all, maybe with some of those outer bands, or maybe even worse. Mainly, the regions that really need to be taking this seriously are Eastern Visayas, the Caraga, and portions of northern Mindanao, as well as Central Visayas, the Negros Island region, and Western Visayas and Palawan. If you are in Vietnam, you have a lot more time to prepare for the system. You have a lot more time to watch it, get those preparations completed. Let me just see if I have any comments on here. Okay, no, all right. Yes, late season is chaotic as always. Yeah, rapid intensification is possible on this. Can you show the latest satellite imagery? Sure. Here's a look at the latest satellite imagery on it. Here's a look at the visible imagery. We can see a very nice band forming on the western side. It's continued to sustain over the past 12 hours or so, and we can zoom out even further here. We can see some nice outflow beginning to form on the western side. You can see these wispy clouds. So it is trying to become more healthy. It is getting some easterly wind shear, so that's why it's a little bit lopsided on the western side. But again, it is trying to organize. It is trying to get better organized. And we could see the system quickly become a typhoon over the next 12 hours or so. All right. Does the Bicol region get affected? Let's pull that up here. In terms of impacts in the Bicol region, looks like around marginal impacts all across the board for you there. So it does seem like you are going to get impacts, but it's mainly in the form of rain and potentially gusty winds. Nothing too severe. It's not directly headed your direction, but you could still see marginal impacts. What agency is close to accurate? The Joint Typhoon Warning Center, I think, does a good job. Yes, I almost gained 1,000 subscribers from Melissa. Yes, thank you all so much for your support. Again, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, as it really helps out a lot. And it will keep you up to date. We're trying to hit 5,000 by the end of the year. Let's see if we can do it. All right, what's the highest tropical cyclone wind signal in the Bicol region? I don't think that there's any signal warnings for you just yet. I don't think they've issued any signal warnings just yet, which I think is a very big mistake, because this could be rolling through as a major typhoon over the next 36 hours. In terms of the Bicol region, though, you should be fine with this. Only marginal impacts are expected for you there. Oh, there is an update from Pagasa now? Okay. I'll try to pull that up off screen right now. Seeing what they're showing. 7 minutes ago, I don't see anything about signal warnings just yet. I would like to touch on the rainfall forecast here. And this is also going to be why portions of eastern Cagayan is in that slight category. Here's a look at the rainfall forecast for tomorrow, which does show a large area of 100 to 200, or 50 to 100 millimeters of rain impacting portions of eastern Luzon, the Bicol region, and eastern Visayas and central Visayas regions, and portions of northern Caraga there. Some areas, including eastern Samar and Dinagat Island, could see 100 to 200 millimeters of rain tomorrow. In terms of Tuesday, or November 4th, there are going to be more impacts with portions of eastern Visayas, Leyte, mainly central Visayas as well, southern Bicol region in Masbates there, as well as western Visayas, the Negros Island region, and again central Visayas. They're all seeing 100 to 200 millimeters of rain, and a larger portion there could see 50 to 100 millimeters of rain. So again, that's why some of these areas, even though you're not in the direct path of the system, you could still see rainfall impacts from it. Yes, guys, subscribing is free, so it helps out a lot, okay? Thank you all so much. Can Bicol region be affected too? I'm getting a lot of questions about the Bicol region. Are large portion of the Philippines in the Bicol region. Thought they were around Metro Manila. But the Bicol region could still see marginal impacts from this. I am forecasting you all will get some rain from it. And Pagasa is also forecasting that as well. Up to around, I'd say 50 or 100 to 200 millimeters of rain are being forecasted for you in the Bicol region. So yes, you could be seeing impacts from the system. The track is, here's a look at the latest track here. It does roll through anywhere from eastern Visayas all the way down to Caraga. And it does then roll through central Visayas, the Negros Island region, and western Visayas and portions of Mimaropa, I believe. That might be how you say that. I'm not quite sure. But a Palawan there in Mindoro. Let's see. All right. Masbate. Okay, Masbate. Thank you. Maximum winds, it could be seeing winds of over 250 kilometers an hour is what some of these model runs are showing. If I show you all the European run, wind gust just southeast of eastern Visayas could, or just east of eastern Visayas, could see winds of up to 250 kilometers an hour, at least from the European run. So there will be a corridor of very strong winds wherever the system rolls through. We could be seeing Typhoon 3 or 4 warnings being issued, maybe even, or sorry, Signal 3 or 4 warnings, maybe even Signal 5 warnings, depending on how quickly the storm rapidly intensifies. Let's see, can Benguet be affected by it? So let me scroll up here. Benguet is not expected to see impacts, I don't think. No, Benguet is not expected to see impacts from this system, but they could see impacts from the next system, 99W, which could be rolling towards the Philippines there, including Benguet there. Some of those members show it rolling through as a major typhoon in Benguet's there, but again, it's a little bit far out, so it's a little bit uncertain. What if the track changed into portions of Masbate? Could the Bicol region see slight impacts? Let's see. Well, if it starts shifting more to the north, the southern portions of the Bicol region, including Masbate, could see. Yes, Masbate there is expected to see slight impacts, so they could get upgraded to moderate or even major impacts. It all depends on this forecast there. How far to the south or how far to the north does the system move? I will be continuing to post updates once a day on other social media platforms, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And please follow me on one of these other social media platforms. I post on there as well. Post most frequently on X there. You can follow me there at @hurricane_chase. If you use Instagram, you can follow me at @hurricanechaserchase. If you use Facebook or Blue Sky, you can follow me at Cyclone Tracking. If you use Discord, you can join the Discord server at discord.gg/chasesstorm. Let's see, how impactful in the eastern Visayas region? If I pull that up there, eastern Visayas is expected to see, again, anywhere from marginal to major impacts. You could even argue the point of catastrophic impacts. It all depends on how much the system intensifies. It doesn't have a whole lot of time, but it can rapidly intensify still. I am hoping that this forecast gets lowered over the coming days, but really you need to be preparing for major impacts in portions of southern, mainly southern Visayas region. Any update in the South Indian Ocean? We do have the remnants of 95S meandering towards the west. Other than that, though, nothing's happening in the South Indian Ocean. Yeah, we can't really predict if Kalmeagi or Tino rapidly intensifies. It's a little bit uncertain. All the Google AI members really want it to. It's just, is the environment really that great for it? If we look at some of the upper level environments on the system, it isn't really going to be completely located underneath an upper level anticyclone, so it is expected to see some easterly wind shear from it. The problem, though, it is moving to the west, so it is moving in the direction that the shear's blowing as well, so it kind of counteracts that a bit. It does look like it's in a much better environment when it reaches the South China Sea. It is still on the southern end of an anticyclone, so not perfect, but it is getting great outflow there. So it's quite uncertain as to what the environment's going to be like. How well does it do as it's rolling through the Philippines? Does it intensify as it's moving through the Philippines? If it's intensifying as it by the time it's reaching Palawan, it could be a very, very major threat to Vietnam. See, Cat 5 is not off the table. Again, Cat 5, the Google AI members are giving it around a 62% chance of it becoming a Category 5. So this is pretty scary. This is the most recent run, the 18Z run. This has dramatically increased. It was 18% earlier, and then it was around 48%. Now it's up to 62% chance of Category 5. Let's hope these probabilities lower. We can pull up one of these websites here to kind of show you all the trend on it and what it has been showing. In terms of the forecasted trend, it has shifted more to the south. The consensus has it moving through Leyte, whereas the Joint Typhoon Warning Center has it rolling through southern or eastern Samar. And in terms of other things here, let's look at the Super Ensemble cluster, if that is on here. Super Ensemble, where it's expected to go. Let's see, okay. Doesn't show it perfectly there, but it does show where it could move across the Philippines, the consensus where that is. I am curious to see, whoops, okay, let me get out of that. I am curious to see the trend on the, let's see, where do I pull this up though? I know it's DeepMind here. Is it in one of these ensembles? No, okay, I'm just trying to find out where I find this here. There it is. I believe one of these areas here is going to be the trend on it. So it's probably going to be, whoops, okay. Zoom out, whoops, okay, let me go back to this again. In terms of, it should be, okay, I'm trying to find it again. Models, I believe if I pull up, there we go, the Google DeepMind members. Here we go. Here's a look at their trends as to what it's been showing here, becoming even stronger and stronger here. The previous forecast did have it intensifying a little bit faster than what it's doing right now, but the most recent run is the most bullish run by the time it slams into the Philippines. Their pressure in the 930s, maybe approaching 929 millibars there. By the time it slams into the Philippines, it does weaken dramatically before reaching a secondary peak before slamming into Vietnam. Looking at what it's been doing compared to the forecast trend, it's a little bit weaker than the last model run in terms of where it's expected to be. It was expected to be a little bit stronger by now. But again, though, it is forecasted to catch up. Let's hope it doesn't do that. Let's hope it continues to be on the weaker end of these members. But it's quite uncertain. Again, we're not sure as to how much it's going to intensify. And we'll continue to keep you all updated over the coming days. Let's see here. That's the GenCast. Okay, let me go to DeepMind there. Yes, okay. And then the forecasted track, it has shifted again more to the south. It looks like it's going to be plowing through Leyte, and then eventually into central Visayas, the Negros Island region, western Visayas, and northern Palawan, before reaching Vietnam. It's pretty set on where it's going to be going, unfortunately. It has wobbled a little bit more north of forecasted over the previous runs, but it then has shifted a little bit more to the south afterwards. It is expected to meander more to the south, west-southwest, by the time it's in the latitude of around eastern Visayas region. Let's see what else here. Hi, I'm from the Philippines. I work at Pagasa. I wish I could help. Oh, hey, nice to meet you. If you want, you can join the Discord server. You can reach out to contact me if you do work from Pagasa. Yeah, okay, never mind. Thank you for the commenting on the wallpaper. NavGem shows more northward movement. What can you say about that? If I don't really trust the NavGem model, it's one of the more inaccurate ones, so I don't really pay attention to that. Interesting, though, does have it moving a lot more to the north. I'd say that this is very unlikely to happen. I'd mainly be focusing on, let's see, why is it moving to the southwest? I'm going to try to pull up that. Yeah, I mean, there's just a ridge to its north. There's nothing really allowing it to escape. A trough does try to weaken it more. That's why it moves a little bit to the north, but then the ridge strengthens right over there. So it mainly keeps it moving to the west. There isn't really anything to pick it up until it reaches Vietnam there, where we start to see it moving around the western, southwestern periphery of a ridge, where there's a trough over parts of western China. That next system, what it does, it's a little bit uncertain as to where that's going to be tracking. We'll need to be keeping an eye on that over the coming days. Okay. Right. So in terms of when the next video update is going to be, I did want to discuss that briefly. Um, I am likely going to be doing an update tomorrow morning for you all in the Philippines. By that point, we're going to have a much better idea as to what it's going to be like by the time it slams into the Philippines. So again, we're going to have a lot more confidence as to what it's going to be looking like tomorrow morning. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Who am I going to be seeing in the next live stream? Who am I going to be seeing tomorrow morning in tomorrow morning's live stream? If you can let me know in the chat, so who am I going to be seeing? And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, as I will be posting more updates over the coming days and coming hours in the Philippines as to what's going to be happening there. You can follow me at X on @hurricane_chase. If you use Instagram, you can follow me. Please consider following me if you haven't already there at @hurricanechaserchase. You can follow me as well on Cyclone or on Facebook and Blue Sky for cyclone tracking. And you can join the Discord at discord.gg/chaseastorm to contact me. Alright. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I'm probably going to be ending it now. We have a question briefly about how much rainfall in Manila. It's a little bit uncertain, but I'd say up to around, let's see here, what are the models showing for Metro Manila? The European showing up to 50 millimeters, American showing 75, and the Germans around 15 millimeters of rain for you there. So you could be seeing interesting rainfall totals there. You think the Bicol region couldn't be making a major impact if the typhoon changed its track? Yes, the Bicol region could be seeing major impacts from this if it moves more to the north, but it's likely not going to do that. I'm only expecting marginal impacts for you there. You can stay up to date though over the coming days by subscribing, and you will be staying up to date on looking at the more recent more up to date information. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next update, which will be tomorrow morning. Stay safe.